GEEK Files, 2026, April 4th. Transprovincial Airways out of Terrace. Kind of non-sequential. So, I've mentioned the Bristol Freighter Hercules engine and how tightly cowled it was for cooling. Sometime around between 1999 and 1992, not sure when, they got a contract to move fuel someplace in the Arctic. I'm not sure when. Now they could have on the Bristol freighters. Now they could have, and I went, wow, like there's no, most aircraft have some sort of provision for cold weather running, like the DC-3s, DC-4s, Beavers, Otters. That you lag the oil pipes, you do this, there's shutters you can put on for really cold weather. Bristol Freighter was never designed to do that. So there was no provisions to do this. So I was looking at them going, how are you going to do? Oh, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what you're talking about. Now they could have sent Action Jackson, Dave Jackson, up because that man lived in Whitehorse and he knew cold weather operations. They could have sent me with the aircraft because I had, at that time, lots of Arctic and high Arctic experience with cold weather operations, but they didn't. They sent Don Vieno. A nice enough guy, but Don came out of the automotive trade and working on Blue Book, and Don always wanted to find the shortcut to make money. So he used to brag that instead of following Blue Book to change the heater on some sort of car, they would just cut a hole. He would remove the tire and cut a hole through the fender, change it there, and then just put a patch panel in and put the wheel on because it was faster. He could cut his time in half. That was kind of Don's attitude. So the Bristol Freighter, on the way back, they did the contract, and on the way back, blew a cylinder in Fort Nelson. And they didn't have a cylinder. They don't remember why. And it blew like it blew the top of the cylinder straight through both cowls. That's how I knew that they could do this. So they flew that crew home, the pilot, co-pilot, and Vieno. What he had done is to build heat in the engine oil, is he had started to remove the baffling from around the cylinders, which overheated the rear cylinders until one of them went through just blew its top right through the cowlings, which is predictable. I mean, it had bulk injection, but because it was bulk injection, some cylinders ran a little rich, some ran a little lean. And because of the really efficient flame front, when a cylinder heated up, it could run really lean and just detonate. And that's what happened to this thing. It detonated. So they sent me, Paul. There's another mechanic, an English guy, Paul. Can't remember his last name will come to me. Up to fix this aircraft and get it back. So we had to come up with spare inner and outer cowls because they were critical. Cylinder, sleeve, piston, the whole 9 yards. So we got up to Fort Nelson. It's been a long time since I've been to Fort Nelson. So in the early 80s, I logged out of Prince George, and then in freeze up and break up, sometimes I would work for a non-destructive testing company, going into the pulp mills to help the NDD technicians. And one of these trips, we went to the sour gas plant in Fort Nelson to do some X-ray stuff. So it was kind of cool. So we're up there, and God, it must have been, I know it was August-ish, maybe late August-ish. So that's how sensitive, it's a relative thing, right? That's how sensitive the Bristol freighter engines were to airflow, because it wasn't really cold in the Arctic for Arctic conditions, but she was freezing, right? It was well below the temperatures that we normally ran out of Terrace and Wrangel Island. So there we are doing this, and then all of a sudden, I hear this really weird sound. I know it sounds like a round engine. I look up, and here's an Antonov AN2, and I can't remember what else, coming into land. So like the wall had fallen in 80 something, early 80s. And the Russians were bringing in a couple of their aircraft, flying them from eastern Russia, across the Bering Sea, through Alaska, and then down the coast to go to the Seattle Air Show. So this Antonov, it was really cool. This Antonov landed. I didn't speak Russian. The Russian didn't speak English. He pulls up beside the Bristol freighter, and we're both going like, look at your aircraft, look at your aircraft. No, look at your aircraft. So yeah, I just smiled and said hi and shook his hand, and that's all we could do, because we had no language in common. But that was really cool. That was one of the coolest things that's happened to me in my life. Meeting, seeing an AN2 up close and personal in Fort Nelson, of all places, while I'm working on this Bristol freighter. Yeah. So making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.